Got a little place near the beach. We watch the sailboats out at sea.
All right, happy Wednesday. You guys. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you guys are having a good week so far. Welcome, of course, to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, gaming, and Gunpla. I am Steven, aka Midnight Hatter, your host, and joining me as always is the father of Gundam Explained, Adam Blue. How are you doing, friend?
That's right, doing good. Yeah, Father. That's right. Father's Day, that came and went, and I don't know how it feels like when you're not a father, but you're celebrating it, and then when you are a father, but it's you got your newborn or your younger
Yeah.
kids, your fresh kids, and then when you're an older father. And not that I guess older because my kids are older. So like this past weekend, I really just took yeah, it was Sunday just to myself. I just did nothing and just yeah, it was pretty nice.
That's a good feeling. I was gonna say, but this not directed at you, Adam. This is directed at the chat. On today's episode of My Family's Better Than Yours, I am sporting the T-shirt that my wife and daughter got me for Father's Day.
Ah,
So,
there you
um,
go.
yeah, I didn't have a relaxing Father's Day. I actually spent most of it caring for a sick child and
Oh,
uh, doing the grocery shopping and stuff. I have to say though. I'm gonna get right into complaining about stuff because
okay.
that's my favorite thing to do is just get
Yeah,
angry
you're
about
good at
things.
it.
Um, so yeah, I went to the grocery store on Sunday, wife and kid, and when I left them with the cart and everything to go grab something, and when I get back, my wife is like dumbstruck, right? Because apparently there was a pair of teenagers and my daughter had like a sheet of stickers that I'd given to her, some dinosaur stickers, and she offered one to one of these teenagers and he flips her off and mouths fuck you to her face and I'm like, "I'm sorry, what did this 2-year-old do to you?" Like
Wow, that's some bright slap, reaction there.
and I
I
have
get
to
it.
say, I was like, "You know what? I bet." Well, for one thing, if I had been there, then obviously there would be no stream today because I'd probably be, out on bail. But, these kinda cowards, they're not gonna do something like that when the dad's around, right? They're gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that
So, despicable teens, like, I know I pulled some pranks and, like, did some edgy stuff when I was a teen, but this
that is
generation.
that's weird. That's almost like, that poor person probably has some mental disability. I mean, the the level of awareness, a two-year-old offering a sticker, and that's the reaction?
I
What kind of
guess.
escalations has he gone through in his life to maybe he's had toddlers, like, all his life that have, like, maybe murdered his parents, and he's, like, on a revenge mission.
Right, he's got, like, the cybernuke type trauma where it's like, whenever a toddler offers him a sticker, it's like colonies dropping and the sky falling, "Ah!"
God,
Um,
wow.
but yeah, no, so now I guess that's a good point. We should refer to that as brightless behavior, right? Because normally people would say
Oh,
like, "Oh, that's fatherless behavior." It's like, "No, that's brightless behavior," because clearly he didn't get slapped enough when he was younger.
I like
But
that, brightless behavior. But what would you have done if you were there?
I mean, I would have at least, said something to him. My wife, she was just like, "Oh," and then he walked away, but like,
Which is
I
probably a
was
good
like,
reaction.
yeah, I mean, just
It's not confrontational, but it lets the person know that was
like,
weird.
yeah,
Hopefully
like
they got the
that's an
idea.
unacceptable way to act towards a person, especially a person of small stature.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know.
which speaking of people of small stature, and this is kind of a funnier joke, my wife recently showed me that video of Mike Tyson meeting Hasbullah. Are you familiar with Hasbullah?
No.
The like Russian fight promoter with progeria, so he looks like he's really small.
Oh, no, no, haven't
He's in a ton of memes. I know that you recognize
okay,
him if
so
you
maybe I
saw him.
have. Okay.
But yeah, he was doing a podcast with Mike Tyson and, Mike Tyson picks him up and, like, starts nuzzling him and, like, kissing on him like he's a kid, and it's like, "No, he's a grown man, like, he's almost 30." Like
Wow. Yeah, I haven't seen that, I haven't heard of that. Yeah, but like you said, it's if it's a meme, I've probably seen it.
yeah, I feel like there's so many, cyclical memes of connectivity. The one that I think is very popular right now that I need to make a Gundam version of is the, like, Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria crying in the mirror while she's getting ready, and it's usually the caption is something like, you know, "My wife while I'm in the shower practicing Borat impressions before meeting her friends," and stuff like that. So, I definitely need to take, like, the audio from Char's Counterattack and, like, say, like, "My wife before,"
Oh,
going out to dinner with the friends and, "This is why I've decided to end all life on Earth." Like
dude, you need to make these. I
yeah,
tell you, you have
I
these ideas of things to make. Sometimes you don't make them. This you need to do.
and you know what? That's why I speak it out into
Oh,
stream is
yeah.
so that it so,
Make it
it's like
happen.
manifestation. It's
But
like, you
aren't you
guys
good
are
at
gonna
that,
hold me
though?
accountable. What's that?
Aren't you no, aren't you usually pretty good, though, at making memes anyway? You
I
tend to
think
get
so.
traction.
Yeah, hey, I am proud of myself. I finally had a hit tweet after, what, 12 years on the platform. Um,
That's all it takes. You're a
yeah,
superstar.
that is all it takes. Uh-oh, it looks like shout out to Pyro for letting me know Restream is not sending man, I don't know what it is about Restream chat. Their relay, like, just does not work from time to time.
Technology, man. All these companies using technology just makes things harder.
It does. It doesn't make anything better. Um, but that said, let's talk about some, I guess, yeah, the, cat's out of the bag. We'll do this big announcement. I am going to be entering my first scale modeling competition as a Gunpla builder of over 14 years, right? I am excited to share that the Gundam flagship store, right up the street from me, they are doing, like it's really associated with Hobbytown, so it's like the entire gamut of scale modeling, but there is a Gundam category.
That's awesome. I feel like you already won.
I mean, right? No, honestly, like, what yeah, I needed to get more pictures when I went up there, but some of the guys there are extremely talented, so I definitely need to bring my A game if we're gonna, do this
Where,
for
like,
real.
people have their customs on display there.
Yeah,
I
yeah, there's
like
a lot
that.
of yeah,
Yeah.
I love the community showcase, and they have, like, everyone's cards on display there. So, first of all, I probably need to get my stuff put up there just in general, but, I think that this will be an excellent opportunity to showcase, kind of everything that I can do. And so I'm gonna be looking to you guys for inspiration, for support, and, maybe planning some of this stuff ahead.
Yeah, I think
Uh
that would be fun.
the
Yeah.
spoiler in the thumbnail, of course, is the kit that I'm planning to use for this build is the
Good call.
RE100 Bawu. There's a reason I chose this kit, but, I'm open to suggestions otherwise, as long as it's not like, "Yo, build the perfect Zeta Hatter." I'm like, "Well, I the competition is on July 13th, so it's a little limited
Okay.
time. I don't think I'm
That's
gonna
what I
be
was
able to
wondering.
build and customize a perfect grade by then, right?"
Yeah. No, okay, that's what I was wondering, the timeline. So, you got until the 13th, which I think is enough time, yeah, for RE100 to build and customize. Now, I'm assuming you picked this suit because it's, like, one of your favorites anyway.
I mean, that's always a plus, but
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted something that was master grade scale, but not master grade detail. And
That
the
way you can
reason
focus
being
on your own details. Yeah,
exactly. And
like it.
for if I'm gonna be cramming a bunch of LEDs into this thing, it's gonna be a lot harder to wire that stuff up if I have to work with, like, the internal frame that usually accompanies a master grade.
Good call.
So,
There you go
the
again.
Bawu is probably going to be a good bet for that. And I'm gonna show you guys some of the stuff that I'm gonna be putting in there because obviously, we're gonna be using some of these little nano LEDs that I'm so fond of using. Um,
Oh, yeah.
so that's gonna be a mono eye. Like that one's a non-negotiable, right? That's gotta go in there. But one of the things that I was committed to is I'm like, I am going to make this beam saber work. I'm going to finally get a beam saber to light up, and it's not going to look like crap because I know. So, and Adam, so you recently, this was probably what, like a month ago, you did the Perfect Grade Unleashed
Yeah.
um, Gundam, right? The Granddaddy Gundam, and it had the one beam saber that lights up.
Mhm. Or the beam handle. The
Right,
one
like,
yeah,
because it's basically like a flashlight that you stick the beam saber
exactly.
on, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, like, you get that dissipating light effect, it's not as good looking, right? And as much as I love Boylai Hobby Time, and I do love Boylai
Yeah.
Hobby Time, love the stuff he does with Star Wars kits, love the stuff he's done with some Gundam kits, um, those those LED filament sticks that he uses for lightsabers and beam sabers, I cannot get down on having to have a wire tip on the end, like, having to solder both ends and then, like,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
so, you guys, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that my life mission, everything I've done with Gunpla up to this point has been to make a convincing looking beam saber that can be wired from the bottom and not have any weird bits or bobs on the other end. And we just have like a nice, clean, well lit beam saber. So we've been using those EL wires. That's always a good option. I think that we have finally cracked the code.
Mm.
So what I've got here is the humble inverter unit. So what this does is obviously you've got these little panels here. These will connect to your AA batteries and they take the direct current from the battery and convert it into alternating current so that it can go out to the EL wire. So what I am planning to do is take this sucker apart. We're going to remove the little clicky button. As satisfying as that is,
It
man,
is.
there's
That
nothing more satisfying than a little clicky button.
that's a good
I
click.
might just keep one of these as like a fidget cube or something like that.
Great idea. And that's a nice click. I tell you, that's how they should be designing controllers with, video game
Right?
controllers.
That
Just
the
clicks.
mechanical click,
Mm.
that is fantastic. I've already got Pyro doubting me here. See, Pyro is just mad because it's not the Core Zeta, but yeah, in before next week's stream, I couldn't get the beam saber to work. So yeah, he's saying he's mad that it's not the Core Zeta, which, I do need to finish some progress on the Core Zeta. And yeah, Jamcalix says that this unit has the Baby Babel sounding name. It really does. So maybe part of my presentation will be having my daughter hold it up.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That's funny.
So the
But yeah.
goal with oh yeah, to make a long story longer, um, the goal will be to figure out which leads I have to add a jumper wire to so that we can disable this button because I don't want to have the button like so. Let me, I guess, rewind a bit. I already have like a mechanical switch here that is going to control all of the LEDs on the device. We're going to try and embed this in the backpack somehow so that you've got like just a little switch sticking out to turn the whole unit on and off. But it would be a pain in the butt if in order to get the beam saber to turn on, you have to click another button. So we are going to jump one of the wires here and basically remove the button and basically just use the inverter unit, run it to the power in the hand. And this is where I know you're going to be excited. We're going to have to use some magnets
Oh, yeah.
because we're going to install magnets into the hand so that when the beam saber that is connected to the EL wire beam handle is inserted into that hand, that's where the electricity starts flowing and we light up our beam saber.
And so, I might have missed it, but how are you getting around that filament issue? By having it go into the handle?
Oh, what do you mean? Oh, yeah. So the EL wire itself, if here it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna just strip a piece of the EL wire, expose the two leads, and we'll connect it, inside the handle of the beam saber, and we'll have like two little exposed, probably some of the smaller magnets that I have, and those will
Ah,
connect to the larger magnets in the hand where the electricity will flow through. And so that way, it's not like the hand has to be mounted. You can
yeah.
like take the beam saber out and it will stop lighting up. So
That
I,
is cool. Okay, so far from the greatest hits, magnet, LED, what about LCD?
that would be that would be next level. I mean,
I don't know what you would do with the Bawu, unless you completely
yeah,
replace the where the
just
eye would be. No, where the eye and have a, like, animated eye moving around?
oh, see, that would be pretty sweet. I don't know. I haven't finished building it yet, so I don't know what the like mechanism is by which the mono eye can move around.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
I do have another RE100 kit that I've been working on. Again, if you guys have been following me, you know that I've got a Zaku Kai that I have wired up to a servo motor, and we're trying to get that mono eye moving back
Oh,
and forth. The problem is I've got a dual voltage issue with that because the LED is 3 volt and the servo motor is a 6 volt. So, like, do I
electronic
run a
math.
6 volt battery with a resistor and
No, no, that's
yeah,
when no.
too much math.
Wait, but so is okay, so this Bawu RE100, is it one you've had for a while?
Yeah, this guy's been, sitting on the shelf for a while, and what I've been dying to do, of course, I don't have a Gundam Lindworm for comparison's sake, but I've been dying to have this posed
Oh,
up
yeah.
with the Master Grade Zeta and the Lindworm so that we can have, like, the whole
That's
family
right.
of Transformies.
Okay, because it's neat that the Rebawu RE100 is right now on P Bandai,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yep, and it looks great. The pre-orders just opened actually a couple weeks
Oh,
ago.
shoot, I might
I'm
have to look into that.
Yeah, I might
I did
grab it because
wanna
when you just mentioned transforming, I was just looking at, like, the thing looks sick
Oh, yeah, the Rebawu, I think it looks even cooler than the standard Bawu,
in the
and
Sazabi.
yeah, it's like the Sazabi, and I mean, it I am disappointed that they ended up going with the Sinanju for full frontal. I might actually be a full frontal fan if they had stuck with the Rebawu as, like, his,
That
mobile
would be
suit.
cool because it would call back to some, like, Quattro-ness with kind of the how the, Hyakushiki looks, kind of
Yeah.
combining those design elements. Yeah, it's
There's
I'm glad
there's
you
a
brought
lot
up
to
that
like.
kit.
Yeah, yeah, that's, so, yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested, go pick up that Rebawu on P Bandai. I will not be doing it because, obviously, that's not gonna arrive in time to but,
Yeah.
all things considered, like, I can't think of anything else that I've got sitting around that I can, like, start work on today that would be competition worthy, competition ready. I did see someone on Twitter, and you guys have probably seen me, repost this, but there's a guy that customized a Psycho Gundam, and like, just the high grade Psycho Gundam looks fantastic on the outside, has these LED red light up eyes, but
Oh,
then you
yeah.
take the front chest plate off, and there's, like, 2 little cute kittens and, like, a little, uh, like, a field diorama inside the Psycho Gundam's chest, so that was pretty cool.
That's, yeah, pretty amazing, although it makes me think the Psycho Gundam is a good idea for a custom because, like you mentioned with an RE100, there's more space you can kinda work with in there.
Exactly, you want something, like, high grade, but as large as you can get it, so that's why I'm not going with, like, a standard high grade. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to cram all the things that I wanna do into it. Now I
And
do
you're
wanna
not
shout out. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say you're n and it's not that you're gonna choose something you've already built, it's like your goal is to start from scratch.
Yeah,
And
I
maybe that's
mean,
the
I
terms of the competition, I don't know.
right, I feel like it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be disappointed if it was like, "Oh, man, I've been working 12 years on this, I'm just gonna show it," like.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I will shout out some chat here. So, King Dylan says, "What about using an acrylic rod as the beam saber with an LED in the handle?" That's always a possibility. I've found that, like, the diffusion of light is, you get varied results. I did see someone on Twitter post they have this, like, white film that is like a LED diffuser, and he was showcasing it in one of his builds where, like, I think it was no, it might have been. I forgot what kit he put it in, but it was one of those ones that has, like, a lit up faceplate, right? And he
Yeah.
was like, before, the standard light was just like a little bright point in the center of the face, and it got really dim. So then he cut out the film to fit the inside of this mask, and it diffuses the light so that the entire mask lights up. Something like that, if I were to tuck that inside of, like, a beam saber, like, roll it up and slide it down and then shine an LED through it, I think that might give us the effect we're looking for, but I have no idea what that stuff is called or where to find it.
Well, you know what? I think I've done that with a flat top coat,
Oh,
but
really?
it was on a 1/44th scale where I put it over the visor, I think it was of a GM or something because the light was just bright in one spot, putting that over kinda smeared it. Um,
Exactly. It's all about the soft lighting.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
King Dylan says, "Have the Bawu and the Zeta in the fusion pose with the Lindworm in the middle." Good call. Good Gogeta, shout out. Johnny Tacoma, anyone who flips off my daughter's gonna need a straw to eat from. Yep.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I couldn't find them, so, I
that's
was like, "Well, what did they look like? What's"
yeah,
that's,
that was
uh
crazy.
but, again, with more exciting stuff so, we're not gonna get a screen inside it, unfortunately, but I'm glad that you mentioned other things that I'm gonna be doing with this kit because, of course, I wanna try and flex as many of the muscles that I have acquired in my time building Gunpla as I can. So, 3D printing.
Mm.
Let me actually go ahead and let me kick on a little screen share so that I can show you guys what I've been working on. So, what what do we need for a Bawu? Well, we need Glemmy. So here we've
Mm.
got the 3D model of Glemmy that I've started. Very detailed, highly detailed, obviously. No, honestly, at this scale, a lot of the facial details and stuff aren't going to show up anyway. So it's really just about getting the uniform right, getting the hair right, that sort of thing.
And okay, so and you're gonna sculpt the hair?
Yep, we're gonna sculpt the hair, and so I was thinking like, oh, maybe I should 3D print two versions, one where he's kind of standing, and then maybe one where he can fit inside the cockpit. But
Oh, yeah.
the RE100 Bawu does not have a cockpit, so we don't have
Okay.
to worry about that sitting pose. At least not that I can tell. I got out the instruction manual here a little while ago, and it looks like the
Yeah, it would seem like an RE100 wouldn't have that level of
right,
detail.
like, very, very few high grades I've seen actually have a cockpit, so I would be surprised if this one did, well, being an RE100.
But hey,
So,
you can print more to have the Glimmy clones, right? There you go.
even better. See, now that's why I keep you around, Adam. It's like you're you're cooking. Um, so yeah, this is in the works, and,
That is cool.
and I'm thinking I'll 3D print him in some kind of, like, triumphant pose, stick some magnets in his boots so that he can, like, stand on the shoulder of the Bawu
Oh,
when it's finished.
yeah.
Um, because that's what it's all about, right? It's about incorporating as many of these different things. I'm definitely going to have some magnets for the hard points of the beam rifle. Adam, this is something you and I have talked about recently with in regard to GBO2 because one of my favorite things in GBO2 is when a mobile suit is switching weapons and like they actually put the weapon like on the rack of
Yeah.
the
Whether
that
it's a
is
gun or even like the beam saber, thing or whatever, yeah.
yeah, like because it just looks so cool, especially, some of those Code Fairy mobile suits, the way that they're all kitted out
Oh,
where it's like, "Oh,
yeah.
she's got the bazooka on this shoulder, she's got the, machine gun underneath, the shotgun on the right." Like, there's something about a fully loaded mobile suit that just
I agree, I agree. Okay, so yeah, have you thought about then, are there some other weapons or other things you can store on the Bawu? You know what I mean? Like, maybe something that would seem appropriate that maybe haven't thought of.
that could be something cool. Maybe a, oh, man, so w if I were to
Just a
put
bazooka,
what's
maybe?
that?
Maybe a bazooka? Like, that's I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll have to go into, GBO2 and see what all of because I mean, the
oh,
Bawu in GBO2 is absolutely disgusting, one of my favorite raid mobile suits. Um, I mean, it's got, like, the shield has a scattering beam cannon, it's got the missiles on in the arms, it's got the missiles on the wings, it's like it's got
yeah.
enough weapons that it can take just about anything down.
Yeah.
So anywhere where I can stick LEDs, whether it's if I can put some LEDs in the shield for the scattering beam cannon, that'd be
Ooh,
cool.
yes. I didn't even
Um,
think about that. Um,
use some like UV resin to create like the explosion particle effects.
oh,
Um,
yeah.
but I'm glad that you mentioned like props because if I've got magnets in one hand that can power the beam saber light, then how cool would it be if I had magnets in the left hand that like we could have like a Zeta head that the eyes are lit up that
Oh,
he's just
yeah.
holding, something like that
Yeah,
would be pretty cool.
that's neat. Yeah, I'm wondering what other little gimmicks, like, and I guess because it's something you're looking at, I wonder how effective sound would be.
That's a good point. I don't
Yeah.
know. And I haven't been able to get like anything audio working. So
Oh, okay.
that would be a tricky one to incorporate. But again, and the goal, of course, is to get the whole thing to run off of a coin battery, which may or may not work. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I would think it would work. I mean, this sounds
I
like
did test the so it probably doesn't have enough current. So I'm going to use like let's see. So this is a 2025 3-volt battery, probably one of the lower current ones. This is a 1632 coin battery. It's a little smaller, which is a plus, but hopefully I'm going to test it out with the inverter. I know that both of these batteries are great for the LEDs, those are no problem. But for getting the power to the inverter, this 2025, is it a 2025? I know that there's like a 2032 that is enough to power the inverter. I
yeah.
tested the 2025 and it just barely gets this little LED to turn on. So I'm probably going
Uh,
to want more power than that. But who
yeah.
knows? Maybe that's just because the LED is draining the power that should go to the actual device.
Wow. Yeah, just other layers of complication, but I mean, you've got it. But the
Yeah.
2032s, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it was 2025s, that there were batteries in the VMU. I think this is when I first learned about, the Dreamcast VMU would have those.
Yeah.
It was like when I first heard about these little coin batteries.
Right.
Yeah,
And soon we're all going to need them for our hearing aids. But yeah,
exactly. Or for our neuro implant thingy that we're
yeah,
gonna.
our Neuralinks.
Yeah.
Um, I love at the grocery store, they've got, like, the little coin battery thing because it's like no one knows what battery they have. I've actually had to buy a ton of these because my key fob for my car runs
Oh.
out of battery for no reason. Um, and so they have, like, little slots that you can stick your coin battery through to see what, model it is and what
Oh,
replacement to buy.
that I've never seen that
Um
before. That's actually pretty neat.
it's pretty cool. So I'm glad that they have that device for all of us idiots who don't know our batteries.
Yeah.
But it's been helpful for me, especially when I'm working with these different voltages. Like okay, here's a 6-volt coin battery that I can use for these applications, and like a 5-volt for the or what have you. So the idea, and this only takes 3 volts, but I think it needs more current, and that's why it is powered by two AA batteries. But two AA's are not going to fit in the Bawu. I'm gonna have a hard enough time, I think, fitting this guy somehow, either into the backpack or the torso.
Unless
But
you do another one of your bag of tricks and you build a base that it attaches to, and then there's connector points there.
see, I thought about that, but one of the things that I needed to do with that was I had to have the wires run down to the legs, which I can't do with the Bawu because it's two parts.
Oh, yeah, because of the transforming.
Right, unless I put magnets in the Bawu
Oh,
attacker
yeah,
and nutter
the
so that when they're
connection.
connected, they power up. I don't know. Well, we'll
That's
have to see. I haven't built it yet, so, like, again, a lot of my plans might go out the window. And so I think over the next few weeks, obviously, I'm gonna be doing a lot more, probably some late night streams. Definitely tune in if you guys wanna
oh, cool.
learn all about the process of this. Because yeah, I'm gonna be streaming as much of the build and as much of the customization process as I can so that it's an educational piece,
Yeah,
as well as, something fun for me. Because like I said, this is something I've never done before. I've never built competitively, so,
and
um
it seems like your thing just because of the uniqueness of the little tricks. Yeah.
that's what I'm hoping. I want this kit to be, emblematic of like, Hatter.
Yeah. No, that's oh, I wonder if you would use your custom decals.
That is a good plan. I think we'll have to. I might
Yeah.
do something. So like if we while I was doing research for this build, I started looking at our good friend Mark Simmons over on
Oh, yeah.
ultimatemark.com had a whole production notes translation from Double Zeta. It's fascinating how many designs got either scrapped or repurposed for other things. And so the Bawu, for one thing, I love how the original designs of these mobile suits are always way chunkier and way more, like,
Yeah,
just bulky
robot-like.
compared.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I love, like, they illustrated all of the innards of the arm joint here. So I thought, like, maybe instead of having the Glemmy, um, skirt marking here, if I came up with my own Midnight Hatter
Mm.
skirt marking and use that instead, I
Yeah, I
think
think
that'd
you
be
should
pretty cool.
have yeah, like a decal on there and then maybe something on the shield?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the shield,
Oh,
obviously has a huge
and that's
opportunity there.
a Toads Ritter shield, right? Or did it come from the Bawu?
Yeah, they are the same shield. Let's see.
So who did it first? Probably not the
I'll have to
Simpsons.
assume the Bawu,
Okay.
but what's unique about it is I think that the Totodile version is actually larger. Like, it's the same shield, but,
Well, it seems like longer in
yeah,
length.
doesn't it seem longer here?
Yeah, because I just had the picture up here. Yeah, it does actually. Unless the Babu is just proportionally different, but
Yeah, that's always always potential.
I need to build my
Um,
Toad Ritter. I have it right in my shelf there. That's the next one I gotta build. Ah,
yeah, I mean, it's a delicate beast. I have a hard time handling it.
oh,
Although I will say it's cool that it comes with, like, posable wire for the remote bits.
yeah,
So,
I
like,
love that stuff.
unlike a lot of mobile suits that come with funnels or bits or whatever, it actually has the connective material to pose them, but it's all one thing. You have to cut it to length yourself,
Oh,
which I
I've
thought was
seen
kinda
that.
weird.
I've seen
But
that with some others.
that's not a bad thing, I think, because then you have the opportunity to kind of cut different lengths if you want, like, one to be super far out and one to be kind of just coming off.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think there was some recent, even Witch from Mercury kits, the high grades that had that. Um,
Yeah. Which from Mercury, those kits, despite the show not striking a fancy with me, those kits have a lot of fancy engineering to them that I really appreciate.
yeah, no, for sure, and it's funny watching IBO, because I've been starting that, like, how much I totally prefer the storytelling in IBO. Like, Witch from Mercury, I was giving it its time, but, and then, yeah, looking at some of the machinery in IBO reminds me of Witch from Mercury. Some of like, with the basic paneling, for instance.
Very true. Yeah. And I think that was what gave me the initial kind of, what gave me my initial hesitation around, Witch from Mercury was I was like, "Well, I didn't really like the designs from IBO, but," and then these looks very similar, and I was like, "Well," um, I say as I, like, have the Bawu on screen, like
Hey, but the Babu is a great design.
I think so.
What I love when I look at a mobile suit is when I can see kind of the design, its history. Like, when a mobile
Yeah.
suit represents its history, and I think that's a good example of one.
Yeah, it's very clear that, like, some Xeon engineers were like, "Hey, that Zeta thing is a monster, and we need to do something similar to that." And it's like, "Oh, wait, so the cockpit is here, and it kind of folds up, and it's got these. Okay, yeah, we can do that, totally." And so then they get halfway through it, and they're like, "I cannot get these stupid wings to wrap around the front. I don't know what that Camille kid was smoking. We're gonna do something different." Like,
Yeah. And by using multiple different design types, actually.
yeah, yeah, seriously. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now I did pull up a little frontal view that I found over on DeviantArt of the Bawu so that I could highlight some of the things that I think, obviously we're gonna be customizing. Let's see. So naturally we're going to do our oh, is this working? So naturally we're gonna do our mono eye LED. We're gonna have to install those magnets in the hand and run a wire to the torso uh where the battery is going to be stored and where we can power the beam saber from.
Okay.
Um, man, I don't know if maybe it's just my Photoshop or if the stream is slowing down too, but this looks terrible. I am just going to
Oh,
close this file here and
no, it
see if
didn't
that
yeah, it didn't look
makes a
bad.
difference. Like you mentioned, we'll probably want something in the shield.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know, and I actually went to try and play GBO2, last night, but fell asleep before it actually loaded. I was so exhausted. Um, but, I don't actually know where the Bawu stores its beam rifle when it's not using it, and obviously, they don't show it in animation, so I was like, "Well, I'll check GBO2 and see if that's one of the mobile suits that they actually do." So, let me know in chat if you guys,
Either it's a side skirt plug or the back under
like, behind
the yeah, under yeah, backpack where sometimes and I'm thinking in terms of like model kit, like not in universe, which
Yeah,
could be the same. Looking at some pictures. That's interesting because the rifle is very interesting in terms of its look, and I don't really see yeah, because I have some pictures up right here. I don't really see where that would be stored at all.
yeah, it is a super unique design, and, like, the neat thing about, like, the Zaku machine gun, for instance, is that it kinda folds up on itself in order to make itself,
Yeah,
stowable, is that a word? Stowable?
I think
Uh,
so. It works. I know what you're saying.
the the Zeta Gundam's beam rifle, it retracts itself, but it doesn't really have, like, a place to store it, right? I know that obviously it connects to the shield, and maybe that's what the Bawu does as well, just kind of connects the beam rifle to the shield because I know that that's what it does while it's transformed. But
Yeah, yeah, because I wonder yeah, I don't even see connection points, like, I was looking at the wrist, and it's just where it's the Alex legs on its wrist, really.
yeah,
But yeah, not seeing man, the more I look at pictures of it, I'm wondering, what about making that yellow like a gold?
I thought about doing that. I definitely
Yeah,
want to punch up the colors somehow. I don't want to tinker too much with
its
the
classic
color
look.
scheme, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do the Hatter thing and paint it purple like I do with everything else.
Uh,
Like, I do wanna keep it in its glemmy colors, but, I
yeah.
don't know, like you said, maybe doing the gold or yellow parts in a gold would be something to help,
Even
punch
if
them
it's
up.
just like a slight yellow gold, you know? But then there's
Yeah.
the thing that would make it hard about that is all the other little yellow parts you'd have to match too, and they're kind of indented. But, yeah, you're good at that stuff.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Let me see here. So, King Dylan says, "What about an induction ring in a hanger placed in the base, on the back or ceiling to increase the current?" That is of course an option. I don't know how well the induction coil would go to the inverter unit. So, if we do have to abandon the EL wire for the beam saber, then we might go with the induction coil method because that's going to allow us to just use the standard LEDs and we know that those work. So, Johnny Tacoma, I liked the shoulder pad sub arms on the Totus Ritter. I agree. So,
Yeah.
Adam, here's a question for you because we've seen a lot of different versions of sub arms in the Gundam universe. The Totus Ritter has the sub arms on the shoulder. The GPO3 has its sub arms in the forearm.
Right.
What is your preferred placement? Oh, and let's not forget the O has sub arms in the
Down
crotchal
here.
region.
Yeah, crotch. You know what? I don't have a preference. I think, case by case, like, I like how the GPO3 does it because it's almost like it's just extra on top of what's supposed to be, like, the best of that suit. And
Yeah,
so, oh, here's an extra arm that comes out. The Toads Ritter, I feel like it goes with the look of it, the way it's done with, especially, like, when I'm playing, GBO2 when I'm using it. Like, when you can activate that, like, the way it feels when doing that, and then,
yeah,
yeah, what I like about the O is a goofy looking suit, but the way the sub arms are is almost like it's kinda dirty tricks type of thing, you
there
know?
is something to that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's almost like the conversation we were having. Was it last week or the week before about like handshakes and
Oh, yeah.
like the etiquette around not shaking with your left hand and stuff like that? There's something about the way that the O's sub arms are placed that like you could see, and I'm surprised that they never animated this because this would have been such a badass image. Can you imagine when Haman and Shirako come together for the first time and they're like, hey, let's be allies, and they're in their mobile suits, and you know, Shirako reaches out with the O's hand, the Kubile grabs its hand, and then all of a sudden one of the sub arms flicks a beam saber out and cuts the Kubile's hand off. Like
Yeah.
someone needs to animate that because that would
Yeah.
be so fucking cool.
I mean, anytime, yeah, he's in some sort of duel or battle and he gets locked and he's using his hands for something else, he could just quickly have some other arms just come up and do their thing and then go back. Like we
And
didn't
they're
see
so,
it as
like,
much.
outside of like, what you would consider your peripherals or what your range of view, your field of
Yeah.
view would be, because, like, with the Totus Ritter, they're right up in your face, up on the shoulders kinda thing, and then if your hands are locked up, then the GPO-3 can't do its thing because 'cause they're in the forearm.
And it almost reminds me of this latest season of The Boys where you have
Mm.
these heroes or you have these supers with amazing powers when they could be using them and they're not. You know what I mean? It's like you could
I
resolve
feel like
this.
you have a specific example in mind.
Uh, I think there's a lot. Like anytime
Yeah.
now Butcher and Homelander meet up,
Oh, yeah.
like I feel like there's or anytime, even the lady, I think she's a vice president, right? Or she's running
Yeah.
for vice president. So
VP nominee at least, yeah.
yes, yeah. Like I feel like there's so much more she could do.
Right, I mean, she makes people's heads explode, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and she's invincible practically. Uh, it's funny, like
seriously.
I liked The Boys a lot the first 2 seasons, but after that, I felt like it would be shocking to be shocking, and it's one of those
Yeah.
things where their power levels didn't match what their actions would be. So, yeah.
Yeah, so with the boys, yeah, the current season I've kind of lost interest in. The last season I feel like Soldier Boy really saved it because we now had an antagonist
Oh,
that
yeah.
there was a complicating factor there, right? Speaking of complaining about things, let's complain about the boys for a second. Um, so, in the first 2 seasons, Homelander always had, like, somebody that had him on a leash, right? For whatever reason, there was always, an executive at Vought that
Yeah.
had Homelander, that had his number. But then once he gets control of Vought, you're like, "Well, then what's stopping him? There's nothing." And then the one woman that can pop his head, she sides with him. So, what are we gonna do now? Um and so when you introduce that complicating factor of Soldier Boy, not only are you kind of rooting for Soldier Boy because you want him to kill Homelander, but then you're like, well, but Soldier Boy's kind of a bad guy too, so you don't want him to like replace Homelander, right? So it's like there's this nice conflict, this drama going on right there. But now with, Soldier Boy gone, it's like, well, now what? There's no,
Yeah,
like you
I
said,
don't
there's an imbalance of power that's just not being addressed.
'cause it's like with Homelander trying to do something and he wants to get the smartest person alive to help, it's like, but he's got some of the most powerful powers. You know,
Right.
like, e regardless of how he gets his way, what is he then really trying to do? Because, that's why I'm having trouble finding that motivation. What I loved was how scary the first 2 seasons were. Like, as a
Yeah.
viewer, how I was like it's almost like it's like it faded, like, I can't get that feeling back of these are superheroes, but they're, like, super evil, oh my god.
And
Like
they can get away with anything, like, they can
yeah.
trample your girlfriend and just face 0 repercussions.
And so that was like, there was moments where I was, like, scared, like, Homelander is gonna F someone up, but now it's gone.
Right.
Which
Everyone's kind of been neutered a little bit.
but at the same time, I wonder if it's like, people like the show, let's just do another season, it's at least it's entertaining. Um,
Yeah. I do hate that they brought in the trope of, like, the world's smartest person because that never pans out, like
'Cause you could be like, "Wait a minute, I'm smarter than them. They thought that?"
right, you know? So, usually what that ends up being is it's like they get themselves into contrived situations that's like, "Oh, actually, this other thing happened off screen that you,
Oh,
the audience, didn't know about, and that's what makes them so much smarter than you." And it's like, "Well, no, it doesn't. It means that you didn't show me the thing that they knew." Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. No, that's a good point.
Now, I think that having a world's smartest person, it works, but only if they have a very tangible weakness that contributes to them not always being the smartest person in the room. And to give you an example of this, I always go to, like, Iron Man, right? So, Iron Man, both in the comic books and in the movies, Iron Man's one of the smartest people in the world, right? However, he's an alcoholic and he has a terrible ego. And so you know that even though he's smart, he is prone to blowing up his own plans in his face because he has these character flaws that make him likely to not do the smart thing. When you have a character who's just the world's smartest person and they have no reason, they have no character flaws that make them prone to screwing up, then what that does is, as a writer, it puts this pressure on you that you can never make a mistake as that character, because if you do, then it's a plot hole.
Yeah, that's interesting because it could be that this character they reveal, like you said, there's more to this character than we know, and we might, find out something um, about it. But um, no, all in all, though, I think it's really neat. But this kind of goes back to with the mobile suits, like when we see a new type or a mobile suit that's like super powerful, and it's when watching Gundam: The Origin and seeing Char in Zaku 2, just kind of like going through all those battleships and just blowing them up, and
Yeah.
you don't really see that again.
No,
But,
it's,
you know
and that's one of the reasons that, like, the Origin to me, I didn't like parts of the Origin, right? Because, the way that they explained it, and I forget whether this was, in, like, the novelization or something, but, like, the Battle of Loom, it wasn't that Char was just zipping through all these ships and blowing them all up. It's that he was landing on them, and then he would kick off of the ship in order to give himself that initial boost of momentum. So everyone else was just kind of flying around. And it's like, okay, I'm going to steer my Zaku this way. Now I'm going to steer my Zaku this way. He was using that momentum of kicking off of something in addition to his thrusters to make it seem like he was going faster than everybody else. Well, and he was going faster. And so that was like, not only does it make the character more badass because it's like, "Oh, he figured something out that nobody else was doing."
Yeah.
And it's not some cheesy, like, super robot, "Oh, he disengaged the limiters on the mobile suit to make it go faster." It's like, that kinda stuff is so dumb to me. But, like, he used physics, he used,
Yep.
like, real world science stuff to make this thing do something that no one else could do, and that's what makes him a good pilot, you know?
Yeah.
And to your point, you know, there's a reason that no one has seen it done since is because they haven't had a fleet battle like that since. That yeah, and he can't do it on Earth, right? Like he's not gonna be able to kick off of a building under the force of gravity. So it's like the only time that he was able to do this was as part of this
Yeah.
particular attack.
Yeah,
See, that's
no, it's interesting. Yeah, when it comes to, yeah, what they added in, and because there isn't that many fleet battles. I guess the closest we get to that could be like the Bawaku, because, a whole bunch of, but by then, Char was in a different position within the war where it wasn't
yeah.
about his suit,
Well, and he didn't have legs anymore because he was
and
in
there's that,
Beyond.
yeah. Yeah. He couldn't
But,
kick.
but yeah, and I think Gundam, apart from like that example in the Origin, I think Gundam does a really good job of using those types of like character flaws as a way of preventing things from being too powerful. So, like, for instance, you look at like Unicorn, which, I'm no huge fan of Unicorn, but like when you look at Benager and he's got the Unicorn Gundam, and we all know that it's super powerful, that it is a super robot, and he's got this beam magnum that is capable of wiping out just about anything in one shot, but he's so, reluctant to use it because he's so, opposed to killing enemy pilots, that
Yeah.
then it's Riddy that has to take the beam magnum away from him and use it, you know?
Interesting, because that is that, in a way, character flaw that keeps Benager from being the ultimate at all times. And even when he performs whatever the awakening thingy,
Yeah, the
there's that
destroy
part where he
mode.
like crystallizes or whatever. So it's
Oh,
almost
yeah.
like where he's then out of service for some time until we see him again later. But even when we see him again later, he's still using the Magnum, but he has to have the different arm for the mobile suit in order to fire it. So it's
Yeah.
interesting how there's still these little things. Um,
So, and so that's really what it comes down to is a talented writer, talented creative staff is good
yeah.
at building. In tabletop, we call it like hard magic versus soft magic systems. Like soft magic is, you can do anything. Like, oh, the force can allow you to change
Uh,
the color of the moon, and it's like, no, the force doesn't work that way, right? In a hard magic system, everything has rules. There's uh to borrow the phrase from Full Metal Alchemist, it's equivalent exchange, right? You can't create or destroy matter; you can
mm.
only transform it. So, like, if you have some kind of superpower, you build in some kind of limitation to it. I mean, it's to
You
me,
think
it's like superhero 101, right?
Yeah, and that is interesting because you can see where with Star Wars and the Force how that has evolved over time, where it almost then you could go back to a previous Star War and be like, wait, but they should just do this since we now know how it really works. And
Exactly.
and it's interesting because with new types, they sort of do it where, and this is where I think they're creative because sometimes things that happen with new type powers are in relation to an event that requires some sort of emotional stress, whether that's good or bad. So it's almost like it's using the idea where the mind, we still don't fully understand it. So if new type powers were to show up, it's not like they do a good job of making it where there's not new type rules, just heightened
Yeah.
situations that humans will be in that then elevates their powers.
Well, yeah, and it's worth noting that like we know that new types, it's a there's like the Psychomu, everything is around brainwaves, right? It's not Camille isn't going to turn around and like lift a mobile suit with his bare hands because he's a new type. It's not like
Oh
a
yeah.
superpower like that. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the real the real meat and potatoes of like new type theory is the empath abilities, this psychic communication. And then the way that they tap into it for mobile suits is of course using Psychomu devices that can read those brain waves. Um
Wow, that just gave me an idea, like, what if there's this story where there's this and it's gonna be like a cloned child always, that is like a cyber
has
new
to be.
type clone child that actually has the ability of moving objects with his or her mind, and they have them hidden away somewhere where no one can get to them, and they're, like, forcing them to use, like, their projection or whatever to move the colonies and try to send it to Earth. Like, that would
Oh
be anything where
man.
they have to hunt this person down. It's like, do we kill them? Are they doing this maybe under duress or
And
yeah.
that, I mean, that would be even more dangerous than a typical colony drop because it's not like you have people going to, attack a colony before they're
Yeah,
moving. It's just like, oh, I guess it's moving.
yeah.
Um, but you know what? You brought up an interesting thing about new types and about, you know, one of the things that makes me feel like the sleeves are not a true Xeon faction is that, and this goes back to our project here that we're working on, the Bawu, is that the Bawu during the Neo Xeon War with Haman, the Nutter is controlled via remote. So like only new types for the most part were able to pilot it because once it's split into two, you're controlling
Oh,
the top half with your hands and then you're using Psychomu to communicate with the Nutter. And
I
so like
didn't realize that or know that or huh.
however, the sleeves installed cockpits in the legs, and so then when the sleeves Bawu splits into 2, it's because there's 2 pilots.
In Double Zeta, do they show that happening of them using their mind?
Not that I remember. Now this might be a good question for Kyle, simply new type. Although I see that you just got a tooth pulled. I hope that you're, recovering well, my friend.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah,
I hope you don't have the big old chipmunk cheek. I know that that's always fun when you get a wisdom tooth taken out.
and hopefully
So
got the good drugs.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I think that, he would probably know because he's just gone through Double Zeta
yeah,
for his coverage for the channel. If you guys haven't caught up with it, hey, I guest narrated an episode. One of my
that's
favorite
cool.
episodes actually because, you know, it's Glemmy with the blue team, and he's starting
Yeah,
to get that vibe where Glemmy's gonna rise up, which if you guys don't know, I'm a huge Glemmy fan. It's why we're doing this, right? It's
It's
why
a
we're
cool
building a Bawu.
no, it's a cool subplot to the whole Xeon kind of dynasty, like I like it too. Um, but to go back to this, yeah, if Kyle doesn't have the answer, I might want to look into it because how much of it was that they were really using their mind, but at the same time, it could be, and now this is almost like how fin funnels work, where there is an
Mhm.
interface between the suit and its other element. It's just it's heightened. The control maybe is heightened by the brainwave activity. I am just trying to now, uh, not what scope creep the new type abilities.
No, well, and it's interesting because there's so many things that we don't get, straightforward
That's
answers
true.
to, right? And I know that for one thing, like, we see Glemmy piloting the Bawu, and then we know that they're the mass production models, right? But are the mass production models like, I don't recall them being piloted by anyone that was named, so it's like, I don't remember seeing a pilot in one of the mass production Bawus and, like, whether or not they were wearing the same helmets that Puru wears and things like that.
Yeah, that could tell us that there was more background information to that, either multiple clones of cyber new types for the purpose of piloting these.
Although I'm getting debunked here because Talos is saying in chat that the Bawu was remotely piloted, but it wasn't through Psychomu.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Interesting.
So that then it makes it where they're not using their mind to move it. Okay, so that
Yeah.
explains that. Okay.
Although that does beg the question, like, okay, so yeah, perfect. I'm
Ah,
glad that he answered this one while I was formulating the question. It kinda had a laser antenna through Minovsky waves, also referred to as Minovsky transmission, which again, to me, kind of introduces a plot hole, right? Because the whole benefit of Psychomu technology and like new types is that they can communicate through electronics without using radio waves, without using typical forms of communication that were disrupted by Minovsky particles. But what you're telling me is that they have a different device that that allows you to remote control a something as big as a mobile suit, well, half of a mobile suit, that does not require Psychomu.
well, so that is interesting because you are bringing up the thing about the Minovsky particles, but also
Yeah,
it's reminding me even in Victory Gundam, it came out in multiple pieces, and there was the laser
yeah.
which we see in Seed, but Seed's different universe. So,
We see it, I think, in, the during the One-Year War whenever they line up the Gundam, right? Like, they do,
oh
like, the
yeah, that's
laser
right, exactly.
link
Now,
up.
was that the G Falcon? And I forget. I know there's the TV show version, and then there's the movie version.
Yeah,
So,
so I guess, like, whenever the core fighter would undock from, like, the legs and then, like
yeah.
because I
So,
guess technically you could even put the Gundam torso on the gun tank and, like
yeah, and so then I wonder if maybe because of the proximity and maybe the laser kinda helped strengthen the interference,
yeah.
or issue? Yeah, I don't know.
Can you
G-Bull.
imagine if, like,
Thanks.
you yeah, the G-Bull. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I wonder, like, if you get out of range of the attacker, does the Bawu Nutter just, like, fly off and slam into something?
Yeah, that is interesting. Cool. This is a cool rabbit hole that I don't think many people have thought of before.
And who would have thought that it came about because of The Boys?
Exactly. Yeah,
That's what I love about this is it's like we're starting to talk about model kits, we get into complaining about The Boys, and then all of a sudden, we're back onto,
Gundam power levels or something, yeah,
Gundam
it's
power levels, exactly. So I
cool.
hope you guys are as excited about this project as I am. I will, of course, be announcing streams as I am doing them, so that we're going to build this thing together. We're going to customize this thing together, and I am hoping to take home at least one of the top 3 spots
Oh, yeah.
of the Gundam category at this event on the 13th. So
I'm
stay
hopeful.
tuned with me. We're going to make something happen. In the meantime, we do have to get back to work, right, Adam? We have
Yeah,
to pretend like
sure
we
do.
have a job. No, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, for keeping
Yeah,
the chat lively, for the excellent suggestions. I will, obviously defer to the acrylic stick method if our EL wire doesn't work. But until then, we will catch you guys later. Have a good rest of your afternoon,
yeah.
and don't forget to tune in to the Gundam Explained show tomorrow
That's right.
5 Eastern.
Right. Awesome. Thanks all.
Thank you.